Hi guys, how are you? Thank you for tuning into my channel. And I wanted to make a video about an interaction that I had today with this homeless lady. Okay, now I'm not making fun of nobody in this video at all, in any way whatsoever. But this lady was sitting outside where I am currently staying, okay? And I was wondering why the police were out here, so I go over there and, I'm in the office and I'm like, what's going on? And he was like, oh, I had to call 911 because this lady doesn't have any money and she wouldn't leave. And I was like, oh, like I had seen her sitting out there before. I didn't realize that she didn't have any place to stay or anything. Like you really had to call 911? Like what, she wouldn't leave or something? And he was like, oh no, she wouldn't leave. I asked her to leave twice and then you call 911. But okay, whatever, that was besides the point. So I went out there to be a little bit nosy, and the lady only had a t-shirt on, and she looked like she was cold. So I asked her, I said, do you have any clothes? And she was like, no, I don't usually dress like this. And so I was like, okay. I said, I have a hoodie that I'm going to go and get for you. So I bring the hoodie, and she was like, oh, can I return it to here? And I was like, don't worry about it. You can keep it. Because at the end of the day, I can get another one. Like, it's really not that serious. I have other ones. So I was listening to what was going on with the police and everything after I came and brought her the hoodie. Thank God it fit her. She was a little bit bigger than me, but it was a little tight on her, but that's besides the point. It doesn't even matter. It fit her. So I was like, you can keep it. It's not that serious. So I was listening to what was going on, and I'm like, did you try the domestic violence shelter? Like, because I heard her saying something to the police officer, like, oh, can you call my ex-husband? Like, I don't know if you guys deal with that, but, like, I'm not allowed to call him because, he had sexually assaulted me, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, I started to feel bad for her. So I was like, did you call the domestic violence shelter? And she was like, oh, they told me I couldn't stay there. So I'm sitting there like, okay, like, let me listen to more of this conversation because I don't have much, but I was going to offer her the money I was going to pay for a room for her. But, we're talking about a situation because then they want a deposit and, like, I'd be putting myself out there a lot because the lady had nothing, like nothing. She had a bag with her medication in it, and she also, like, she had some paperwork, and that was all she had. She had on a t-shirt, pants, and some little bobo shoes with no socks at all. And so I was still being nosy, kind of, because before I would even attempt to offer her a room for the night or something like that, I needed more context of what was really going on. So I'm listening, and I'm like, I'm giving her different options to, possibly do. And she kept giving excuses like, oh, well, I can't do this because of this and blah, blah, blah. Like, you could just tell when somebody's giving a whole bunch of excuses. So the police officer had came back and was, started asking her some questions like, oh, well, were you not allowed to stay in Ruth's? I don't want to say where I'm at. Are you not allowed to stay in the domestic violence shelter because you had disobeyed the rules? Now, anywhere you go, if it's not your own place that you own, you're going to be abiding by somebody else's rules. If you're renting a place, you're abiding by somebody else's rules because you have a lease that gives you certain things that you cannot do. And I know this because I've written up leases from my boss before. So, it's a sketchy road. My eyelashes are big as anything. I put them on just to see how they would look on camera, and they're like humongous. Like, I think they like overshadow my eyes so much. But I'm going off on a tangent. I have a tendency of doing that, so I do apologize if it happens. I'm sitting here spinning in the chair. I don't know, not that I'm nervous, because I'm not nervous. I have absolutely no problem talking to myself, which is technically what I'm doing, even though I'm talking to you guys, but it's like I picture you guys in my head, and I see you out there, and I'm talking. Let's let me stop. Okay, so... I thank goodness I didn't offer the room, because the lady was on probation in the domestic violence shelter, because they said she called 911 in the middle of the night because the girl saying that the girl had a gun when all she was doing was putting on hand lotion. Like, what? Okay, I had to pause right there. Like, I was like, what? And it's like, okay, so she was on probation for that there. And then I guess she didn't get the COVID test she was supposed to get. And she was gone all day yesterday. And there's only like a max of, I think, 4 hours that you can spend outside. So it was like, now, as far as the COVID testing, you are in a building with a bunch of women and children, a bunch of other people, especially children, and you couldn't take out the time to go get tested to make sure that you did not have an illness that can harm these children or the women. Like, you never know what type of underlying disease that somebody has that can cause harm to them by getting COVID, and then what? They're gonna pass away or something because you didn't want to go get tested? I don't know. I was deterred by that. It was ugh. It's just like, have some consideration for the people around you.
Are you a sadist?
So
No.
she was
If not that.
like kind of standoffish, and she was just like, oh, if I had all I would need is an apartment, a place to stay, and then I'd be able to get a job. And it's like, and I had to say to her, like, hold on. I said, nobody in this world is going to give you anything. If you want something, you have to go out there and take it. And that's a fact. That is a fact. It's a fact. And I was just like, ooh, my body looks so big and my head looks so tiny from the way that the camera is. There you go. That's better. Okay. So I was, my teeth look nice and white. Okay, sorry. That's one of my tangents. But I asked her, I said, well, why don't you go to another shelter? And the police officer told her, that there's another shelter in in another city, okay, that's, quite a distance from here. And they're like, we wouldn't be able to take you, but you'd be able to go and stay there. And she was like, oh, I'm not allowed to go from one shelter to another. And I'm like sitting there like, really? Like, wow. I guess if you get kicked out of one, you can't go to another. But I felt bad for her. But then it was like, if you're not doing anything to fix your situation, how do you expect somebody else to go out on a limb and do something to try to better your situation? Like, it doesn't work like that. Life doesn't work like that. And if it's that serious, first of all, if I was in that predicament, I would not be looking for a house first. Obviously, you need a job to be able to get the place to stay. And you technically don't need an apartment. You can rent a room or something like that. Like, that would be the smart thing to do. But so the police officer said, if we take you to the hospital, you can seek crisis. If you're feeling like doing something to yourself or that you might do something to yourself. And she was like, oh no, I'm not going to. So I'm telling her, I'm like, they're trying to get you to read in between the lines, like hint, hint. So I was like, they're trying to tell you that they can take you to the hospital and you can talk to crisis, so at least you can have a place to stay. Like, being on the street is not a place, especially for a female. Like, me and my boss had came across this young kid. I think he was like 19, 20 years old, and he was homeless. And, you know, my boss had, you know, would pick him up and give him some work and some work to do and let him, ooh, my eyebrows are uneven. They're cousins, not sisters. Sisters. That's a whole nother story. A sister scandal, y'all. Yeah. But, so it was just like real crazy. And it was like the lady just, like, she couldn't stay where she was at. They wanted her, the people here wanted her to leave. So it was just like, I was trying to help her out. But you know when somebody just doesn't want your help, or they don't want that type of help, they want a handout. And it's like, I seen a whole bunch of boys. And I say boys because they were like 19, 20 years old, standing at the exits for the highway, begging for money. Like, I've seen that so much. How are you going to beg for money? Why don't you beg for a job? There's so many jobs out there that you can go and get, or at least try to get. Like, try to do something to help your situation. I don't understand what's wrong with people and just wanting things handed to them. I really don't understand. But I guess it's not for me to understand. And, you know, like, I've been in my own situations, and I'm currently in my own situation. But it's just like, you know, like, have enough sense to try to do something to fix your situation. I don't know. I don't know what's wrong with people nowadays. It's like people just they want everything, but don't want to have to do the work to get anything. It's just a shame. So that's my little story time for today of a situation that happened. Like, I don't know. I feel bad for the lady. Like, hopefully, you know, I'm gonna pray for the lady. I hope you guys decide to say a prayer or whatever, you know, you believe in, that you just wish well for the lady. I mean, she was older too. Like, she was like, well, let me not lie, because I came across this girl that was 26 years old. Now, I'm going to be 40 this year. Okay. And I came across this girl who was 26 years old. And she looked like, she looked like she was like damn near 50. And she was only 26. And I was like, how old are you? And she was like, 26. I was like, what? She's like, how old are you? I said, at the time, I was like 33. Something like that. Yeah, 33 or 34, something like that. And I was like, you know, I told her how old I was. And she was like, wow, really? You look so good for your age. And I'm like, thanks. Like, I couldn't say, oh, you do too, or anything like that. But, you know, I don't know what it is. I guess it's drugs and alcohol. And, you know, like, that's even hard to say. Because, you know, like, I've had my past with, you know, my issues, which I will be opening up in other videos. Not this one. This is not the video for me to open up in. You know, and I've dealt with domestic violence and everything like that. And, you know, like, my baby father almost killed me. Literally. Even though I call him my baby mother, because, you know, he did things that only bitches would do. And I say that with all love. Like, not that, you know, some females, you have to, because the man doesn't want to take care of his child. But I was taking care of my child. and she just didn't want to be where, where I was staying, in the city that I was staying in. So, she wanted to go back to Jersey with her friends, and so I let her. And I think it was a mistake because my baby mother had made my daughter believe that materialistic things were love. And it's like, that's not love at all. At all, at all, at all. But what are you going to do? People, he was always the type like, oh, well, if he spent his money on you, then that means that he cared. Like, no. You're not going to beat me up and then buy me a bunch of things, and I'm supposed to think that you're sorry and you love me because you bought me a bunch of things because you beat me up. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. But this video is long enough. I will be recording another one. I have some drama that I want to talk about in the beauty community. Actually, it's not even drama. It's a bunch of things that should not be happening. I'm going to elaborate on the James Charles situation. I got some things that I want to talk about with Jeffree Star and how he's not doing, or I feel he's not doing anything to help his friend Daniel. Like, there's just a lot of shady things that I've been seeing going on. So, prayers and love to everybody. Love you guys. Bye-bye.